introduce the work session, please?
Yes, so our work session topic is the Historic Millwork District Outdoor Community Space. I'll turn it over to Planning Services Director Wally Wernemont.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Wally Wernemont, Planning Services Director. We're providing a work session tonight on the Historic Millwork District Community Space. We've gathered a lot of public information, so we're just giving you an update and some concept plans that have gone through the process. Here's our presentation agenda. We're going to be going over introductions. Myself, Wally Wernemont. I have our assistant planner, Chris Happ-Olson, who's been project managing the project with me. And then we have Brenda Nelson from Confluence, our consultant. And then available online is Ryan Wicks with Fair Graham, who's the engineering firm that we're working with for the project. We're going to go over the community space location, the district master plans, the project timeline, results of the online survey, all the public input workshops that we've had. We're going to talk about the Mary Millwork Open House and design concepts, and then we'll have some discussion at the end. So the location that we're talking about is located on 10th and Elm Street in the Millwork District. It's currently occupied by a 57-space temporary parking lot that was in place to provide parking temporarily until the parking ramp was constructed. The Alamo building, or the Rosendine building, is the building to the left of the dash line. So if you hear us say that, that's the building that we're referring to. In 2009, the city hired the Cunningham Group Architecture to help us develop a historic millwork district master plan. And part of that master plan, it helped identify the redevelopment of the historic millwork district, which was part of the Vision 2010 process, revitalizing that district. And part of that plan, pointed out certain aspects of the park that we're talking about. For instance, it was known as Foundry Square in the Alamo building, and the new plaza is a lively year-round focal point and gathering space in the heart of the district. There was a discussion about a landform park, and that landform park was supposed to be located across Elm Street where the intermodal facility is. That didn't get constructed because we have the intermodal facility there. So we've actually had a reduction in the total amount of green space, really down to this plaza space area in question. Also included in that 2009 plan, once again, is showing the plans here. Just talked about building a multi-use flexible plaza and park in the heart of the district to be used for performances, concerts, markets, and to showcase sustainable practices, technologies, and artistic elements. And I think you'll find out that we're doing that as we work through the concepts. Once again, there's a cut sheet in here. It's included in the packet. I don't really need to go through quite a bit of it. The one thing I just want to point out is that colored rendering in the middle and the lower portion there where the water is shown, that is that landform park that did not happen. That's where the intermodal facility is located. So the plaza, the Foundry Square, is where you see that square of trees in the Alamo building. It's kind of the only real space in the entire district that we have to be able to put a park. If you really look at the aerial photo, which we have at the end, it's one of the only few flexible spaces remaining in the entire district. Everything else is pretty much occupied by buildings, which helps create that sense of place in the district. The community park helps develop the green space and red infrastructure throughout that plan. They noted, build a large central public gathering space around the Alamo building, plant, trees in a central gathering space, both deciduous and coniferous varieties, expand a park and plaza space by temporarily closing streets for events. So there's opportunities for 10th Street to be closed off and to expand this park area to create more of the event space. Once again, create those spaces of performance and concerts and throughout the park area. Then in 2024, we did an update to the Historic Millwork District Master Plan, working with Bolton and Mick. And in there, they identified the built environment. And this is one of the top priorities with the Millwork District, hence the reason why we're bringing this before you. They had a lot of conversations that the plan recommendation is a creation of a prominent year-round community space. And the community space and redevelopment of the remaining buildings are the two most catalytic projects remaining in the plan. But there's one thing I just want to point out that's identified in that blue box there. It says parking does not provide the most public good to the district at this location. Once again, talking about this is the only space that we have for that creative event plaza area and that park area in the district. Once again, they talked about special attention should be given to the Elm Street lots that are highly underutilized. So we have some public lots that are located on Elm Street. You'll see further on in that planning parking layout district plan that we have. And then with approximately 600 publicly owned off-street parking spaces in the district, there's adequate parking supply in and around the district. And then one of the other things that was identified in the plan that's called out here is that users will have to reorient their expectations from parking in the middle of the district to parking along its edges. This will be increasingly important when the Alamo lot is redeveloped as a community park. So once again, what really creates that sense of space is the buildings, the layout, the walkability, the proximity of everything. And once we include parking and remove that, it helps create more of that sense of place in the district. I'm going to step off and let Chris Olson go through the project timeline here and kind of talk about our public surveys.
I'm going to adjust this to a normal person's height. So, hi, I'm Chris Olson. I'm the project coordinator for this project. I'm glad to be here and just wanted to provide you the overview of how we're working on this project. From our kickoff in September, we had a creation of a web page that allowed us to be able to get that survey out to everyone in the community. We had our steering committee formed. They've met 3 times, just recently meeting last week, I believe, to go over the plan for this. We've had our online public survey, farmers market outreach, public input sessions, all the way down to, really where we are now. So we've had lots of opportunities to engage folks. That's yours truly there. I am really dedicated as an employee to go out and get the word out about this. I had an opportunity to go out to the Millwork night market and talk to people that were visiting the Millwork district. And those folks talked to me about being able to not have to sit in the gutter, in the parking, and the curb to eat while they're there. Those are the kind of things that people are doing down there right now. They enjoy being down there, but we could make it more amenable to them. So we worked with Confluence to create a visual preference survey, and this went out on that landing page that we showed you. We went out to the Millwork Night Market, we went to Farmers Market, Dubuque History Expo, and then we had really targeted outreach. We sent individual personalized emails and followed up with folks that are business owners, developers, residents, and owners of buildings. We worked with Main Street and Dubuque Forward. We sent it to relevant commissions and our monthly historic millwork developers roundtable that we have. So being able to work with all these groups that have an interest, a vested interest in this area, to be able to get input. And what we were able to do was we were able to get 418 plus the steering committee's input about what we wanted for this area. And they came back and they were able to show us that the gathering space was the most important thing that they found. And then special features, events, those were things that they picked out through this survey. Lawn was very important in it. Specialty structures that help make the space more enjoyable. And then last was parking as a need. So we helped. We used these networks that we have through Dubuque Forward and Main Street and all those business owners to really be able to get this word out to residents that lived in the building and people that come. So, and then you can see this word gathering here, which shows those important things that show up: performance space, tables and seating, gathering space, the beer garden, open green space, event space, playground, food trucks, family-friendly, auto-focused, planned event, and then some other things as well. So being able to really utilize this space for the community. So even after the survey, we went back out with the Mary Millwork Market and did an open house and showed those results that we had received through many different methods to the community and got input there. So we had a great opportunity for engagement. And I believe Brenda's going to come up and talk next.
Okay, great. Hi. So Confluence hosted a public input workshop. It was a really great opportunity to see what everyone thought who came about how they envisioned this space. The primary exercise we did there was one called the chip game, and that was a game where we gathered people in groups and tables. We provided them with a map of the site and all these little game pieces, chip pieces, which are paper doll cutout pieces of the primary amenities that we saw going into the site based on all the input that we had received. We allowed them to design the park as they felt it should be, and it was really a fun opportunity, and I'm going to flip through some pictures here. You can see people working in groups. We allowed them to, create their own chips if they wanted to and just arrange them in different kind of spaces, and we had 6 different tables and 6 different designs. And we even had some people really getting into it and creating some 3D art here with their little 3D shelter. So it was a real fun activity. People had a good time. We even had people, extending their work out into the 10th Street. You can see they had catenary lighting shown on 10th Street on that particular concept. So they really got into it and were creative. And then we had each group select a spokesperson or two to present their concepts to the rest of the group. And so that's what we did. We went through all the concepts and everyone presented their design so we really could get a good understanding of what they envisioned for the site. So it was a really great opportunity. Then we went ahead and we took all of those designs and basically cleaned them up, put them a little bit in a more graphic fashion with labels, and presented this at the Mary Millwork Market as a summary board for our input that we received at the workshop. We did that along with our other 3 concepts that we developed as a part of all this input we received. And we had a great turnout at the Millwork Market. We had basically 4 hours of people walking by and conversing with us about it. We allowed them to put and encouraged them to put little comments on Post-it notes or have a comment card and drop it in the box. Mostly we discussed things with people, I think partly because it was pretty cold and they didn't want to take their mittens off and write anything. So anyway, that was a great opportunity to hear again what everyone had to say about these concepts. And I'm going to run through them quickly just to give you an overview. We're going to start with concept 3. This is probably the most urban, has the most hardscape in it, and I would say the most activities indicated. So in the upper left-hand corner, sort of this plaza space that draws you in from across the street from, Driftless Pizza into the space that has a shelter, and there's an outdoor ping pong table, a little play area in the orange there, just below it, some lounge chairs, tables in various spots throughout the site. And also, in all of the concepts here, you'll notice that there's a stage. It's always pretty much located along the parking ramps on the south side of the site. It seemed to be the best spot, so you'll see some common elements in all of these, but the stage is one that stays in the same location each time. In all concepts, we have a holiday tree. That was one of the ideas that came forth. It was very popular. We have it in this concept located in the corner of Elm and 10th Street, and we have some opportunity there for some branding with some seat walls. But anyway, this is a more urban concept. Oh, I should say, too, that in all concepts, we have stormwater management happening, some stormwater infiltration happening at the south end of the site because the site drops from 10th Street up there down to the parking ramp, about 5 feet, I would say, in elevation. So we're going to be picking up that water on the south end of the site. Concept 2 has more green space. And I should say, concept 1, one of the comments was there's not enough green space in there. Loved the activities, not enough green space. This one has more green space. It's sort of an angular, asymmetrical scheme, some great circulation that happens between the corner of Elm and 10th and down to the little space in between the parking ramp and the Alamo building that connects out into Washington. We have some seating that happens and occurs right along that main walkway that's angling through there, and the other walkway that heads up towards the pedestrian way across the street is some shade structures with bench swings on them. And again, we have some planting buffers on the side, and you'll see that the play area is tucked in kind of close to the stage, more interior to the site. I will say and want to mention that the play area, we don't envision that as being a big play structure or anything. Nothing grand, nothing big, something very small. As you see in the precedent images, those are just little mounded tunnels, something for young children. If you wanted to come to the site and wanted to go to an event but you have small children, it's something for them to do. And we've done it in other projects and found it to be very successful. It doesn't take much to entertain small children. Concept 1 is the most preferred. The unique thing about this is the way we handle the grades on the site. In this case, we're creating an upper lawn and a lower lawn, so we're sort of terracing that grade change across the site from the north to the south with a curved retaining seat wall. So you can imagine that's a nice place to sit. It kind of creates a sense of this event space. We've even had a couple comments that this would be an awesome place to put an ice sheet for skating, a temporary ice sheet in the wintertime to activate that space in the winter. This concept has the playground area in the orange up there, kind of near the right-of-way, but it does have a seat wall around it, kind of bordering it, excuse me, so that kids, you can make sure that your kids aren't running out in the street. The shade structure and swinging benches are just right adjacent to it, along with some seating with tables and chairs. So again, a really great spot to sit and, listen to a performance and have your kids there. Additionally, one of the ideas that came out of the workshop was this little sort of entry plaza area on the north side of the site that brings people in from 10th Street as sort of the primary entry of people filtering into the site. In that location, we have some seat walls with some openings in them, catenary lighting there to kind of highlight that. Additionally, we have catenary lighting in this concept on the southwest side as an entrance from Washington as you're coming in next to the Alamo building to make that feel safe and festive. And again, the stage is on the south. And the one other unique thing about this, I guess I should say it's not the only unique thing because the holiday tree is on the northwest corner, kind of interior to the site this time. But this concept also allows for some sort of a artistic branding. You'll see the little circular dots that come and kind of sweep right through the site. We're envisioning that as some sort of artistic sculptural element, perhaps pillar lighting. It could be something very big at the corner, sort of prominent, and then get smaller and smaller as it came to the end of the site. Really, it could be anything, but the idea is something creative and artsy that would brand the district, and people would know when they see it, where it is. So this is the other concept, the third concept, and this also has stormwater management all happening along the south side. In all cases, I should mention too, we're envisioning the food trucks are parked for any event or at certain times up along the street there. Ollie, you want to take the next one?
So then one other concept that was developed was a conversation about, how can we take the park and we wanted to retain some parking without total loss of the parking spaces in the park. So there's 57 spaces in there. It's like, how can you incorporate parking and have the least amount of impact on the park area? So as you see here, we've looked at it and we kind of calculate and get about maybe 16 spaces angled along 10th Street. Which would be a net gain of 10 spaces because you'll be removing 6 parallel off-street parking spaces from that. With regards to that is an option that's out there for availability to try to provide some parking. Once again, like the parking in the parking lot currently right now is leased parking, so that's leased out through the day. It's not parking that's available for someone who want to park during the day and like go to Driftless for lunch or something like that. Those are pretty much employees and residents in the district. After speaking with Ryan Nucky, all those 57 spaces can totally be accommodated in the intermodal lot located behind the intermodal facility, which presently has about 80 parking spaces with regards to that. So the big conversation comes into convenience of parking and nighttime parking. So when you go down there during the day, we have meters. A lot of the free parking's gobbled up with the free parking on 11th Street, some of the non-metered spaces. But at 5 o'clock at night, that's where the district really comes alive, right? So parking's all over. People are parking on the street with regards to it and everything that's associated with it. A couple things that we talked about by adding parking in here. Once again, you do net 10 additional parking spaces. Things we have to take in consideration, reduction of the park size is a big thing with regards to that and how that flow. We've talked it over with the consultant several times. Can we create some play space? Well, it does eliminate that play space if we want to keep that phase 1 area. And then also the biggest thing that what we talk about specifically with parking is it impacts the sense and feel of the district. This is a catalyst to bring people down to the district. If you think about concerts that may happen in the pavilion and how can we maximize that space, a big conversation point included in your packet is the parking analysis that's been provided to you. And the discussion, especially with this temporary parking lot, has been brought up as the convenience of parking being located immediately in the heart of the district. And what does the removal of that have an impact on the neighborhood and those business owners and residents located throughout the district with regards to that. So a lot of the public input we received had some touch points on parking. A lot of people really wanted to see an open green space. And including some of that parking does reduce some of that lower lawn area, which, one thing was brought up, like a temporary ice sheet to try to keep the space more active all year round. That would probably does not have enough space there after talking with the consultant. So there's options out there. This is just an example if you wanted to include parking into the district. One big thing that came out of the whole conversation was, so if this parking lot does go away, how do we get to the other parking lots? That's most of the times, like, if we come down to, how do I get to that parking lot, the intermodal facility? It's there, no one's parking in it. When I talked with Brian Nucky, whose offices are in the intermodal facility, the most he's ever seen in that lot is about 20 cars, and it holds, up to 80 spaces. The big thing about that is getting people directed to go out, and they have to go underneath the underpass to make that turn to get into the space. Also, the lot that's located in the north, which I guess it would be the northeast corner of the lot on Elm Street, currently isn't being used either. It's a distance away, and just trying to provide people some direction to those public spaces, be able to provide access to it. But the big thing out of this we realize is, like, we need to look at how we can direct people to where the parking spaces are, especially for people who aren't familiar with the area. But even people who live here really have a difficult time of understanding how to get into that free parking, which is available after 5 o'clock. All those yellow spaces are free for parking after 5 o'clock. The ramp, which is shaded in blue, you can park in there as public parking, but you do pay a fee after 5 o'clock at night. One thing I did talk to Ryan Nucky was, at 5 o'clock, how many spaces do you see available in that parking ramp for that 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock hour, Monday through Friday on the weekends? And he says we typically have around 125 spaces that aren't being used, even after people are parking in there. He's had 3 times where the parking ramp has filled up quite a bit. That was the Millwork District, Merry Millwork District night, the Blocktoberfest. Sometimes when the Millwork events happen, that's when that ramp's being filled. But there is opportunity for plenty of parking in the area with the loss of this parking, temporary parking lot. Just to kind of go over this real quick, because I really want to leave some time for you guys to ask questions. This is the interim park plan. Currently, right now, we're working with Fair Graham and the consultant with regards to removing the paving, seeding the area, laying it out to have a large green space. And this is kind of the layout, the plan that's put in place. And we call it an interim park plan because, as you saw in the concepts, there's certain features that would be added to the park later. Currently, we have funding available to remove the parking and create this needed green space in the district, because currently there isn't any located throughout that area. So this is an opportunity for us to have discussion with you guys.
So we got about 5 minutes. We're going to have very little time here to be able to do too many questions. I want to start out to make sure to center us here where we need to go. What are the next steps here, Wally? What are we thinking we need to, how is this going to go forward?
So the next step is, we've heard from the public that they really like concept 1. So our proposal will be to come back to the council with that proposal of concept 1, bring it through as an action item. And then also we have plans for the removal of the pavement for the interim park. So getting that information before you to get approval so we can go out to bid to remove the temporary park for that green space, for ready to be done in the springtime, the summer, so people can enjoy that green space all the way throughout next year.
So sometime probably in the next month is when we're going to see this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that gives us time for maybe 1, maybe 2 questions here.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Mike.
I would just make a little clarification on the next step when it comes to you as on an agenda where you can actually vote on something.
Yep.
It still will have all the choices. So it's just not going to be option 1 is the preferred choice. This is it. It'll have all the choices. You'll pick whatever you want, and then that'll be the vote to say this is what it is.
Got it. All right. Thanks, Mike. All right. Mr. Esby.
So very quickly, it's a small area. I'm just going to tell you my thoughts. And I think this should be for the district, so I don't want the parking. I want to be, and then when it looks like an event space, then people are going to want to have weddings and other things there. And I just know when I was at Clark, we had the atrium, and if there's all these events going on, the students are like, what's going on? Why are they renting out our space? Aren't we students here, and why do we have all these events coming in? That's how I feel about what I'm seeing about with the parking and with the event space look, is that there could be, what is the park for? Are we supposed to bring people in? That's it, Mr. Mayor.
All right. One more thought. Yeah, Mr. Leindecker, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Kavanaugh. And my question is maybe geared more towards Wally, but the Alamo building that is directly to the west of that, I know the question is engaging and talking to the property owners. I know, with our park systems, we've been recently talking about having more collaboration with neighborhood associations and things of that nature to get them involved in the discussion. And I know this particular developer there has done quite a bit of work to kind of stabilize that building and to make it an asset for the Millwork district. So curious if we've engaged with them and thoughts.
Yes, we've been in direct communication with the property owner there, and actually we have one of their employees actually on the steering committee as well. We know that whatever the redevelopment of that building has will be done, we'll actually have an opportunity to have their own little outdoor seating area and how that flows into the park and how they can work together. I think one of the big things is, once we look at the concept plan, that's why that orientation of where that stage was located at, how can that space be able to take advantage of a view shed towards that area in addition to of looking at it, because we did have some plans that showed that stage basically right outside the back of that building, which the flow wasn't going to work best. But yeah, they've been in communication directly with the development of the park concepts.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so I know we have more questions, so here's my suggestion for the council. If you have specific questions, let's email those to the city manager, get those questions answered, but we are going to have time to talk about this as an action item within the next month. So in between now and then, if you have further questions, I would suggest that we email those to the city manager to get our answers, and for now, that's the time we have. So thank you very much, Wally and everyone. We appreciate the time tonight, and really excited to hear about this. This is something we've been talking about for a long time, so thanks, Wally.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's all we have for business in the work session, so we'll be adjourned for a few minutes till our regular session.